A 310-pound bodybuilder walked into Bruce Lee's dojo. Cameras were off, only 4 witnesses. He said, "Kung Fu is fake, you're just an actor." Bruce smiled. And what happened in the next 6 seconds became legendary in martial arts history.
Your fighting is the Fu. Be like waterproof. Adapt to anything, become unstoppable.
This happened in the 1960s when Bruce Lee opened his Seattle dojo. Most people don't know that Bruce regularly faced challengers who wanted to prove that traditional martial arts were fake. But this bodybuilder's challenge was different, because the size advantage was so massive that people thought Bruce would actually lose. The secret I'll reveal at the end of this video is the exact technique Bruce used to humiliate this 310-pound giant in just 6 seconds. And you can learn this technique too. Trust me, your mind will be blown at the end. I initially got interested in martial arts because I was also physically small, 150 pounds. And when I heard this Bruce Lee story, I understood that in real fighting, size is just one factor, not the deciding factor. Let's see what happened in that closed dojo. So here's how the scene unfolded. Bruce Lee was training his Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do students in Seattle. This was between 1963 and 1964. One day after the dojo closed, a massive bodybuilder knocked on the door. His name, according to accounts, was either Frank or Mike. The exact name was lost to history, but the size was recorded, 310 pounds of pure muscle. This bodybuilder had a simple agenda: to expose Bruce Lee. Because at that time in California and Seattle, there was a narrative going around that this Chinese Kung Fu was all dancing. It doesn't work in real fights. And bodybuilders especially believed that strength was everything. Bruce calmly led him inside. There were only 4 witnesses, including James DeMille and Taiki Kimura, Bruce's close students. Now here's the most interesting part that people miss. Bruce didn't immediately refuse to fight. He accepted the challenge, but he set one condition: I'll give you the first move. Was this strategy or overconfidence? Neither. This was psychological warfare. Look, when you're 175 pounds smaller than your opponent, being aggressive is stupidity. Bruce understood that reactive fighting gives you an advantage when your opponent is physically dominant, because big guys overcommit. They rely on power, not precision. Scientific explanation: larger muscle mass means slower nerve conduction velocity. This means a 310-pound bodybuilder's reaction time will naturally be slower compared to a lean, trained 135-pound fighter. Bruce understood this biology. The bodybuilder threw a haymaker punch with all his strength. Classic untrained fighter move, telegraphed wide arc everything into power. And Bruce disappeared, literally. Witnesses say that seeing the punch come, Bruce dodged it as if he wasn't even there. The footwork was so precise that the bodybuilder's 310-pound momentum threw him off balance. If this is making sense, write yes in the comments. Now the 6-second countdown began. Second 1-2, Bruce slips the punch, moves to side angle. Second 3-4, 1-inch punch directly to the bodybuilder's solar plexus. Not full power, calculated force. Second 5-6, bodybuilder gasps, doubles over, realizes that this fake Kung Fu just completely knocked his wind out. This 1-inch punch was Bruce Lee's signature move. The science behind it: kinetic chain transfer. Your power is generated from the legs, amplified through the hips, and delivered through the fist. Distance doesn't matter when the mechanics are perfect. The bodybuilder was obviously shocked. He tried to recover, but Bruce had already proven his point. No further escalation needed. So let's quickly recap. Size advantage only works when both fighters are equally skilled or equally unskilled. But when the skill gap is massive, the physics changes. But this is just the beginning. What I'm about to tell you now is what most fighters ignore. This is the psychological aspect of this incident, which is actually more important than the physical technique. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, do it now, because in the next video I'll break down Bruce Lee's exact 3 techniques that he practiced daily. Look, physically Bruce won in 6 seconds, but mentally he won that battle in the first second itself. I'll give you the first move. This statement already took the psychological advantage. Think about it. When you give someone the first move, especially when they're double your size, what are you communicating? Confidence. Absolute, unshakable confidence. And humans naturally sense confidence. That bodybuilder's subconscious mind had already gone into doubt before the first punch. Why is he so confident? Does he know something I don't? Bruce Lee's philosophy was exactly this. The consciousness of self is the greatest hindrance to the proper execution of all physical action. Simple meaning: when you overthink, you become slow. And that bodybuilder was definitely overthinking when Bruce was standing there calmly. Now listen to a contrarian opinion that you might not like but is the truth. Size does matter until skill reaches a certain threshold. If Bruce had been a beginner and that bodybuilder had also been a trained fighter, the story would have been different. Overcoming a 175-pound disadvantage isn't impossible but extremely difficult. But Bruce had crossed that threshold. He had practiced 10,000 plus hours. He had deeply studied human body biomechanics. He wasn't just a martial artist, he was a scientist of human movement. Real-world application: how can you apply this exactly? Step 1. Stop comparing yourself with bigger opponents based on size. Compare based on hours of deliberate practice. Size advantage is temporary, skill advantage is permanent. Step 2. Study biomechanics. Bruce studied Western boxing, fencing, wrestling, everything. The hybrid approach made him unpredictable. You should also have expertise in one martial art along with understanding of other styles. Step 3. Psychological conditioning. Bruce regularly meditated. Mental clarity is more important than physical speed. If you go into a fight with doubt, you've already lost. If you don't apply these techniques, whatever physical training you're doing will remain incomplete.
Adapt to anything.
Body and mind both need to be in sync. Wait, you didn't expect this twist. After this incident, that bodybuilder actually became Bruce's student. Yes, seriously. Witnesses confirm that after the humiliation came respect. He realized that martial arts isn't just fake theatrics, it's actual applicable science. This was Bruce Lee's real genius. He didn't unnecessarily destroy opponents, he educated them. He used controlled force enough to prove the point, not enough to permanently injure. Modern UFC fighters also follow this philosophy. Khabib Nurmagomedov also had a similar approach: dominate, educate, earn respect. Maybe you're thinking this was all possible for Bruce Lee. He was gifted, I'm just normal. Wrong mindset. Bruce Lee wasn't physically gifted. He was actually nearsighted, wore glasses with -7 prescription. He had a back injury that never completely healed. His 135-pound frame wasn't naturally athletic. But how did the transformation come? Obsessive dedication, daily 6 to 7 hours of training. He maintained detailed journals of every technique. He scientifically tracked nutrition when people didn't even think about protein shakes. When I personally realized this, my approach changed. I set small goals, daily 30 minutes of deliberate practice. In 90 days, there was a visible difference. Not Bruce Lee level, obviously, but personally transformative. Real transformation comes when you let go of external validation and focus on internal mastery. That bodybuilder came for external validation to prove he was strong. Bruce was living for internal mastery to improve every day. And this is the difference between average and elite. Let's do a rapid recap of key takeaways. Point 1. Size advantage is real but becomes irrelevant after a skill threshold. Bruce neutralized a 310-pound opponent in 6 seconds because he had 10,000 plus hours of practice. Point 2. Psychological warfare starts before physical fighting. Giving the first move was the ultimate display of confidence that had already mentally defeated the opponent. Point 3. Understand biomechanics. The 1-inch punch was effective because the kinetic chain was perfectly optimized. Legs, hips, core, fist, all in sync. Point 4. Hybrid approach beats pure approach. Bruce integrated not just Kung Fu, but boxing, wrestling, fencing, everything into Jeet Kune Do. Point 5. Real mastery includes educating your opponent, not just defeating them. That bodybuilder ultimately became a student. Now the promised secret I mentioned at the beginning, the 6-second rule. This was Bruce Lee's personal principle that he rarely discussed publicly. His belief was that in a real fight, if you can't take a decisive advantage in the first 6 seconds, the fight will get prolonged and variables will increase: stamina, luck, environment. That's why he optimized his techniques for rapid deployment. 1-inch punch, finger jab, side kick, all designed for instant impact. How can you apply this? Practical action steps start from tomorrow. Daily deliberate practice, whatever skill it is: coding, fitness, business, 30 minutes of focused practice without distraction. Quality over quantity. Study opponents/competition. Bruce studied every martial art. You study competitors in your field. Learn from everyone, be bound by none. Mental conditioning. Daily 10 minutes of meditation or visualization. Mental clarity exponentially amplifies physical performance. Visualize yourself in the future. After 90 days of consistent practice, you'll be a different person. Not because of talent, but because of daily discipline. Bruce Lee became that way too, one day at a time, one technique at a time. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button and tell me in the comments what was your biggest takeaway from this story. I'm genuinely curious which point you found most relatable, the psychological warfare or the biomechanics. Subscribe because in the next video I'll reveal Bruce Lee's exact morning routine that he followed daily. It started at 5 a.m. and that routine was so intense that modern athletes still copy it. I'll end with a Bruce Lee quote that summarizes this entire story. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So apply these lessons, do the work. Not in 6 seconds, but in 6 months your transformation is guaranteed. Keep learning, keep evolving. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.